My name is Deborah O'Rell. This is Your Voice, Women's Rights in the Workplace. This is a show a webcast where I will be interviewing trailblazing women who want to share their experiences with other women to expand rights and opportunities for women in the workplace. So we're going to cover varied subjects. And today, we are going to be discussing divorce. What do you need to know? How to do it optimally. And our guest today is Liza Caldwell, who is the founder of SAS for Women. Liza is a graduate of Fordham University and has her master's in education from Columbia University, where she studied gender, diversity, and leadership development, three of my favorite topics. Trained in transformational coaching by the Faculty of Leadership That Works and IFS for Coaches. She's a certified professional coach, which is the CPC, if you ever see those letters anywhere, recognized by the ICF, which is International Coach Federation. So thank you so much, Liza, for making some time to speak to us today. So I have so many questions. I'm just not exactly sure what to start with first. But when someone is considering divorce, and that's the time you want to, not when you're already down the road, but particularly when you're thinking about divorce, what does a woman need to know? What are the common mistakes? Like, what did you experience that's why you became a divorce coach?
Yeah. First, Deborah, thank you so much for having me here on the show. I'm very excited. I'm delighted to be under that umbrella of leading powerful women. Thank you for thinking of me.
My pleasure.
And that's a very good question. Thank you for asking it, because it gives me an opportunity to hopefully get a message out to women and men at large. Of course, we're SAS for Women and we work with women, although we have had male clients. I'm going to speak from that perspective of supporting women and also, of course, being a woman myself. But to your question, what do women really need to know? They need to know so much. They need to know so much. But really, when we begin, there's a stage. And at SAS, we've done a lot of research. We think you go through 4 stages. But we're speaking about this stage first where you're contemplating. You're hoping it's going to go away. You're hoping that these are just one-off situations. But unfortunately, this stage, which is really known as something is wrong, is a spin cycle. It has you keep reviewing and revisiting the issues. And sometimes maybe you might feel better about your relationship, but then these patterns reoccur. So you keep having these internal conversations with yourself. And this is where there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame culturally about divorce, and we've taken it in, we've internalized it. These are what these voices are kind of deconstructing in our heads. There's the shame, there's the investment that we put into these relationships. There's the pain, there's the lack of confidence about ourselves. Maybe this is just us and the way we as a woman is perceiving the relationship. Maybe if we could just get over ourselves, things would be better. What's so important is to recognize that all of that I just described is so normal that we generalized it at SAS and actually call it a stage. Something is wrong. And what really helps is if you recognize that this is ongoing, it's this pattern, and it's also where your body is really absorbing stress. And it's the first thing we ignore is our body and the signals. So I'm encouraging women to do a number of things. But first, when you are so confused as to what to do about your relationship, check in with yourself first with your body. And what that means is there seems to be so much unclarity about the situation, but your body has been giving you signals. And ask yourself, what have you been feeling? What do you feel when your spouse comes home? Is there a reaction in your body? How does it feel when you all are separated? So that gives you a little picture, because often women will tell me that actually they feel very different, right? Or they have been ignoring their body.
Yes.
So ultimately, what I'm really saying is that they need to step out of that cycle of just having that internal conversation with themselves, and they really need to speak to somebody. But what happens is that we now have this god called Google.
Yes.
Our midnight lover. Mm-hmm. And we are trying to self-fix, self-analyze, in the wee hours of the night. There's so much content on the internet that we just think if we put in enough time, we'll be able to self-diagnose and figure it out.
Yeah.
Now, we're grateful to Google because in so many ways it's a blessing, right, to have this wealth of education. And I see this very concretely, regularly, it makes us feel that we could solve anything and that we actually don't have to talk to anybody. So what happens, I'm grateful to Google because many women, thousands of women actually find us, Sass for Women, on Google because we have so much content on our website that women will come to our website and they will often read, there are over 300 articles to read, and they see themselves in the stories. And they're still hoping, God, I hope I don't have to talk to anybody about this. But there's a recognition of themselves in these stories. And eventually, if they can listen to the little triggers in their head or listen to their body that is saying something has to change, they may reach out to me for a free consultation. And this is where it gets juicy, folks, because women reach out to me for the free consultation. Often they don't know what they're going to be asking. They just know at this point they've been so loaded with the story inside them. They need to talk to somebody. It feels safe. It's free. Why not talk to me, a divorce coach? And what I know in speaking to them, that it's important for me to help them normalize what they're going through. But they're also hoping that by talking to me, I can give them the panacea, the magic recipe for how to fix this.
The magic pill.
Yeah. And more often than not, if they don't stay in a connection with me, say work in one of our groups or private coaching, I am saying to them, they must absolutely step outside, or even with a Google Zoom or a Zoom call, and speak to a lawyer at a minimum to hear what their rights are and what they're entitled to in their state, in their province, in their country, because there are a lot of divorce laws and they vary from state to state, for example. And we women resist because of authority figures that are lawyers, and actually our spouses are resistant to talk to lawyers. Our spouses might be telling us we're not going to have a divorce or we're going to do it DIY. And what I know as a woman is that we can't afford to not talk to a lawyer. It is harder for women economically after divorce than it is for men. And so many women want to just casually, or even they're at a breaking point and they say, I just don't want to engage. I'll give him so I can walk away. I'll give him everything. It's a power thing. They've been bullied, or they don't want to, it's toxic. They don't want to engage.
Confrontation.
They want to get away is what it is. And that's the fight or flight syndrome that we are going through. But here's the thing. That's an emotional reaction, wanting to get away, wanting to flee. What we need to do is also combine it with our brain and hear from a lawyer specifically about the organics of our story and what our rights are and what we're entitled to, so that we can actually start to process what our life choices are. That's really one of the biggest messages I want to say, is that you owe it to yourself, man or woman, to be educated about your life choices, not just your status quo, but what other choices are and the long-term play out of them. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily getting divorced. It means you're being smart and getting educated. And what I know, if women do that, I'm sorry to keep banging on, Deborah, but clearly I'm kind of impassioned by this.
Yeah, I get it. Keep going.
Yeah. And where was I going? Let's see. I could have gone in many directions.
It's the waking. Well, it's what do women need to know? What mistakes to avoid? What What do they need
When
to
they
be aware
actually
of?
talk to a lawyer, it shifts them to another level and understanding what their choices are. And
Right.
that's really what the secret is. There are many secrets, but that's the biggest one, because otherwise we just stay in this hamster wheel of spinning and not knowing and fearing and projecting and thinking and assuming the worst.
Yeah.
We have to break that cycle and talk to somebody, and not just a peer or someone who's even been through divorce, because a lot of people haven't healed from divorce.
Yeah.
And they're still kvetching about how they got screwed or how so-and-so,
Right.
really whatever their story is, it's not the same as yours.
Right.
So we need to talk to an objective person, a lawyer, to hear individually what our rights are, and not just jump into a method to get divorced. So a method or a means or a model of divorce is a mediation, or you're hiring a lawyer right off the bat, or you're jumping into a collaborative divorce model, or more importantly, we're drinking the Kool-Aid that our spouse does and we're going to do a DIY. So my suggestion is you don't have to rule out any of those models, but don't start there. Start as an individual woman to hear what your rights are, what you're entitled to. So from there, you can learn what's going to be your best business transaction if you were to get divorced. So you have to build on these things and not just jump from a heart or an emotional place.
Wow. I just want to say what you're saying, people's reluctance to making that first phone call. I even hear it when it comes to having a problem in the workplace. They go on Dr. Google. I've read every article. I've researched, this is like COVID too. I've researched. I'm now a scientist. I'm a lawyer. These are my rights. I want to sue. And it's like, okay, you may, but let's just step back a little bit and take it one step at a time. So what I'm hearing you say is, first, listen to yourself to recognize there is a problem. And number two, get some information that is you-centric.
Exactly.
What do you need? What steps and an attorney would tell you? Find out where your bank accounts are. I don't know. I mean, I was always moved by reading. You didn't even have an ATM card. All those kinds of things that the lawyer would be able to, give them guidance on.
Yeah, and let's not give too much credit to the lawyers. What
Okay.
they're doing, no, I'm simply saying is that if we look at ourselves as, to use that word, you-centric, and that is really hard for us women to begin with, to make ourselves the center, right? Because we're such good caregivers, we put everybody in front of us. But if we're endeavoring to be you-centric, then think of yourself in the center, and around you, if you kind of, bad metaphor perhaps, but we're in the middle of the pie. So we're sitting here in the center. The legal slice to your life is just one slice to the
One
pie.
piece. Yeah.
But at this moment on the journey of divorce and whether or not you're going to do it, it's a critical piece. The lawyer cannot help you with your moral outrage. The lawyer cannot help you with your emotions if you've been betrayed. But the fact is that you signed a contract when you got married, and it's going to take a legal contract to change that. And so we must engage with a lawyer to protect ourselves. And we want to find out how to protect ourselves, these logistical, tactical things to protect ourselves. And we also, ideally, we're also going to talk to a good financial person to build on that. But for those women who were intimidated by authority figures, we want to do everything but talk to that lawyer. And I so often have to say that's exactly what you need to do. And I identify with it. This is why I'm pressing it so urgently, because I certainly was thinking about divorce for more than a decade. And I did not feel that I had the tools. I did not feel like I had the competency, meaning like the mental wherewithal. I certainly didn't think we had the money. There was a lot of coming to it from a place of poverty, not feeling like I could do it. and not talking to anyone, self-isolating myself, which kept me there captive for even longer. And so part of my kind of breakthrough was to recognize that critical piece of actually stepping out and being discerning who you're speaking to. It has to be someone who's seasoned and understands the divorce journey. But that getting out of the head and taking action is what saved me. Because I certainly had cast a story for myself where it was not possible for me to change my life. I couldn't do it to my kids. I couldn't do it because I'd never be able to support them. There was a lot of I couldn'ts that I rehearsed very well in my head.
Right.
We get very practiced in our story of why we can't.
Yeah.
And we need to have someone help break the context of what we're so well rehearsed in and looking at things in a different way. So I come to this with a lot of compassion and empathy because I felt trapped in my own life.
Well, I think you're hitting on all the really, what a coach can do, can help to help things be smoother, less stressful, less charged, tone it down, create some space around it, because it doesn't, your spouse may be really volatile, but doesn't mean you have to be. And having someone to, who has your back in terms of moving forward. So when somebody comes to you, what are the kinds of things you offer to help them?
Thank you. So first we give, I think at this point, I've given 2,400 and some odd free consultations. So anyone listening to this should know I give a free consultation. And by far, most women who come to me you're getting educated in even that 15-minute consultation. You have given me information so I can really dig in right away. And if it's appropriate for them, there are a number of ways that they can keep working with us. They can do private coaching, and there are different levels of that. So private coaching is working one-on-one. Maybe you have an immediate emergency or urgency that has to be tended to, or you like the idea of just having a confidential conversation, a go-to person who's helping you structure all of this. And also one thing, as you were mentioning it, understanding what to do with our feelings. You know, it's not just being strategic, but what accompanies us is this bowl of feelings that are ebbing and flowing. It's a stew.
Right.
And so learning, how to segregate those feelings, not dismiss them, not bury them under the rug, but what to actually do with them. Right. That's really the juicier thing in the invitation here into divorce, is for us to start to connect with ourselves. Can't do it all. Yeah. But that's kind of where it begins.
Yeah.
And we're going to do far more of that once that document is negotiated. That's where we're really going to step into.
Well, I just want to sort of come to a closer here because I just realized the time. So I just want to be respectful. I just want to invite people to reach out to you, sasforwomen.com. Wonderful site. Definitely check it out. Liza is a wonderful coach. I've spoken to her myself, so I definitely can vouch for it. Do you have anything else you want to add that might be upcoming or that you want to share? Or
thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Liza.
I really invite women, come to our website.
Yeah.
If you want to do it quietly and in the dark, come home to SAS for Women, because you will find yourself in that website and one of the stages that you're in. And you will learn a whole lot. And if you're up for it, you are absolutely invited to schedule a free consult, and I'll give you feedback.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your expertise, sharing them with us on Your Voice, Women's Rights in the Workplace. So until next time, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.